Hey guys, Medico still here. I'm a final year medical student and I work as an assistant in medicine, so a medical assistant to the aged care team in a local Sydney hospital. And this week I made a big mistake. And I thought that I'd use this opportunity to discuss making mistakes because it's, in my opinion, inevitable. And I've been in two worlds. I've been in the business, entrepreneurship, startup community, and I've been in the medical, healthcare, clinical world. And those two worlds handle mistakes very differently. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that in this video. So first, about the mistake that I made. So look, we were ordering investigations for one of our patients when we were doing the ward round. Now this patient was extremely short of breath. She was day 3 of her admission and she came in feeling weaker and getting more and more short of breath. They did a chest x-ray which showed that at the base of her lungs was a lot of fluid, not in her lungs, but around her lungs. It's called a pleural effusion and it makes it really hard to breathe. There's a bunch of different causes for pleural effusions and we were treating her for those different causes, but it wasn't really working, and so we had to do a special investigation called a pleural tap. A pleural tap essentially involves putting a needle into the pleural space, which is the space around the lungs, which is where all the fluid is, and it involves draining out that fluid and then you send it off to do kind of pathology tests on it. So this actually has the benefit of being a therapeutic and a diagnostic test. It's therapeutic because you're removing all the lungs so you can breathe again, but it's also diagnostic in the sense that you can do tests on the fluid to find out what was causing that fluid buildup. But it's a bit of an invasive test, right? You're getting someone to sit up, you're putting an ultrasound on their back and you're putting a needle right in between their ribs, in and around their lungs. So you wouldn't want to order it for the wrong person. Well, I did. This is one of the big problems with the electronic medical record, is that you can be talking about a patient but have a different patient up on your electronic medical record, and the name is only in the top left corner of the screen. It's not obvious if you're on the wrong patient a lot of the time. And it's happened, I've seen it happen a lot. I've seen consultants reading notes to patients that were the wrong patient. So it's not just me, but I did make that mistake. So I had the wrong patient up on my screen while they were talking about patient B, I had patient A, and so I ordered this invasive test for patient A, and it was for patient B. Now, nothing bad happened. Patient A never got the test. There was plenty of fail-safes to basically catch me out, to protect from this happening. So, for example, I had to call the radiologist and discuss with him doing the test on person B, which is the right person. So if he had seen patient A going in, he would have been like, hang on, no, this is not the right person. That's if it was late stage, but there was heaps of barriers before that. For example, my junior doctor had to sign off on my note. And so there was all this, like, there's different checks and balances that occur. So this is a benefit of red tape, okay? It's a good thing that it wasn't that easy just to order the test, because it could have gone to the wrong person and it would have been totally my fault. But it did cause some headaches because it was just a bit of a bad look for me to order such a test. Like, it's one thing if it's a blood test. Like, a blood test isn't good, but it's a whole different order of invasiveness to a pleural tap, which involves local anesthetic, ultrasound. Like, you just shouldn't make that mistake as a doctor. You know, as you'd expect, I just felt horrible. Like, I just felt like, I felt horrible for a bit. I felt very, very bad, and it affected my concentration afterwards, which I don't like that. Like, I always told myself that even if I made a mistake, I could focus straight after it, and that's why maybe I'd like to be an emergency doctor, because even if shit hits the fan, I can stay focused. But it really did affect my concentration, and I actually ended up making other smaller mistakes later in the day. Like I said, I would do something and I forgot to do it because obviously my mind was preoccupied by this mistake. And I think a lot of medical students are like this, where if they make a mistake, they just feel horrible and really self-defeating. My team was nice about it, and of course they say, look, this happens to everyone, just do your best not to let it happen again, which is good advice. But it's interesting because it's different to, say, making a mistake in entrepreneurship. So I've been part of a bunch of startups, right? None of them have gone particularly well. Here's a card to a video I made about my most recent one, which is a bunch of toys for stethoscopes, which I think is really cute, and a bunch of people have really enjoyed them, but you know, it's no big groundbreaking invention. Anyway, that's cost me a lot more money than it's made me, and so I've made a bunch of mistakes with that, and I've seen other companies and startups make mistakes, and mistakes in the entrepreneurship space are actually celebrated. They're like, it's a good thing to make mistakes. Like a lot of the quotes you'll hear are kind of permutations on, make mistakes fast, get them out of the way. Get to work now, make the mistakes you're gonna make, and get them out of the way. There's this quote that's like, if I had my life again, I would make the same mistakes, but sooner. I like that quote. It's right. It's like, you're always gonna make mistakes. They're inevitable. They will happen. Get them out of the way so that you can learn. But you just have to keep that mentality of, learning from your mistakes. You obviously don't want to be a passive mistake maker and just make a mess of things. But this is an interesting thing that's really different from healthcare. And I think it's because of the consequence of mistakes. Like, mistakes in healthcare affect people's health a lot of the time, and that's very different to a mistake in a business, which might affect someone's money, or it might affect your sales for the company. So the consequences are kind of different orders of magnitude, and I feel like that's actually affected healthcare's ability to take risks on new technologies. Like, we still use fax in the hospital, technology from whatever, the 80s or something. This Uberization and disruption, AI technology that has affected the taxi industry and transport and lots of different industries hasn't really disrupted the healthcare model. And it's because, if technology fails in a hospital, the consequences could be someone's life. I kind of left this situation where I've made this mistake feeling very different. I'm kind of happy that I made it, because everyone says it happens to everyone. I've kind of had my turn, and I'm not being passive. I'm not just saying, look, mistakes happen, who cares? I'm saying mistakes happen. Now I'm going to be aware of this particular mistake more. And I'm a medical assistant, which means I'm a medical student, and people are much more forgiving to medical students than doctors. So I'm trying now to make, in a weird way, as many mistakes as I can. Not in the sense that I'm trying to make mistakes, in the sense that making mistakes is inevitable. And so I'm trying to kind of learn from as many as I can now. So I think I'll just close off by saying, guys, don't beat yourself up if you make mistakes. And guys, I think a big point that I want to communicate is, I don't think beating yourself up and feeling horrible will change the probability that you make another mistake. I think just being a bit of a rationalist about it all, if you can, just being like, all right, look, I fucked up. It happens. How do I ensure it doesn't happen again? So guys, that's it for me for this video. By the way, please give me some feedback on this style of video where, I'm not in that big YouTuber flamboyant personality, but I'm in my more kind of intimate, close, comfortable version of myself. But I'm not being less or more genuine in either sense. I'm just being different, and I'd like to know which you prefer watching and listening to. I would also really appreciate it if you guys consider subscribing, and I also hope that you have an absolutely lovely day. Bye for now.